Hello and welcome to this e-commerce world review webinar. I'm Emma Herod, one of the editors at Internet Retailing and RetailX and author of the Benelux e-commerce report, which we're going to be discussing today. I'm joined in the studio, thank you very much, Prem Christoph Sharma of Avalara. He's agreed to come along, share some of his insights on the region. So first off, hi Prem, can I ask you to briefly introduce yourself and the company before we get crack into the contents of the report?
Yes, thank you very much, Emma. Thanks for having me today with you. So my name is Prem Christoph Sharma. I'm one of the tax technology manager here at Avalara Europe. So Avalara, for whoever doesn't know, so we are an American company that was created in 2004 in Seattle in the States. And a few years later, they created the branch here in UK, Avalara Europe, where I am based. I've been with Avalara now for 3 years, and with a background where I've been working for over 6 years in the VAT and technology side of software for indirect taxation.
Brilliant, thank you. And some of those points we'll sort of come back to, and I'll be asking you some more about sort of Avalara and how that relates to some of the key trends that we're seeing within the Benelux region as well. There is loads and loads of information in the report. I'm not going to be mentioning all of it, but just sort of pull out some of the highlights, some of the key trends. With RetailX reports, we take a 360-degree view of the retail space in a region or in a country. So charts, survey results, RetailX analysis showing how consumers are behaving, expectations of retailers in Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg in this case. The report also highlights how the region's leading retailers are matching those expectations. So what functionality they're using, the services that they're offering across the 3 countries and individually. And also some of the ways that the leaders are gaining market share through innovation, differentiation. Separate sections of the report take a deeper dive into areas like sustainability, retail media, logistics, payments, subscriptions, in-store services, marketplaces, and new ways to shop. So by that, I'm meaning augmented reality, virtual reality, social commerce shopping, those sides of things. We also have profiles of certain companies that we've picked out either because they're leaders, because of their interesting or specific things that they're doing that are showcasing some of those trends or standing out in the market. So if we start with a quick snapshot of the e-commerce market in Benelux, as you can see, Benelux region is among the most digitally advanced in the world. So people have been shopping online for a while. Most people have access to the internet, high standards of living. We also look at happiness indexes and digital diversity and all those areas about people going online to help them with different areas of their lives. So Netherlands of the 3 countries is the largest e-commerce market in Benelux. In 2023, online sales grew by 3% year on year. One of the themes we'll keep coming back to, I think, in this webinar is cross-border sales. So the 3 countries all have high levels of cross-border sales, either within the region and from the countries outside. Belgium, consumer spend 16.3 billion online. I'll just gloss over these, 10.7% more than they spent online in 2022, and large percentage is cross-border. In the case of Belgium, a lot of money is spent with retailers in France and also with retailers in the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. Luxembourg, seeing the largest increase in retail sales over the last year. 80% of their online sales are cross-border. So cross-border, large e-commerce market overall, 15% of all retail spend in Benelux is online. All 3 e-commerce countries are growing. What are your initial thoughts on this?
Well, I would say I'm not surprised. I think all across the EU and generally speaking, people have a tendency to start buying more online from the house, from the home, and I think the Benelux region is probably not new to that, and obviously is impacted by that. And I think every day, every month, the delivery system is increased and facilitated by multiple transporters, and we start seeing a lot of transporter, for example, on electric vehicles. So it pushes people maybe now to kind of buy online, and making sure that they get the comfort of the home, getting these goods to their place. And looking at the numbers, I'm not surprised that the Netherlands is leading, because obviously they always have been kind of on top of the market in the European region. Just the fact that a lot of businesses are going to actually, cross-border business, are installing their third-party logistics warehouse over there. It facilitates, it's quite central. For a lot of businesses, they speak English as well, which is very easy for cross-border retailers to start their business from there. And it's just at the junction, of course, of the mid center of the EU, then going towards the south, or going towards the north and northeast of Europe. So yeah, it's interesting to see, especially for Luxembourg, where there's a massive rise, of course.
Yeah, and Benelux, of course, is always sort of highlighted as one of those regions where cross-border trade is particularly easy, because the countries have worked together even before the days of the EU and the European Commission. So interesting from those points of view as well, as it's sort of shown as how the EU could be working together even closer. So I just wanted to bring in a few more stats from the report. Benelux has got online sales of above 36 billion, so 26.1 billion in 2019. Biggest rise, so fashion has remained the largest product category in terms of revenue. So we're seeing here what's happened across the different product sectors as well. Electronics accounted for 5.76 billion in sales in 2023. So the annual percentage change in revenue of different product categories sort of gives a visual representation of challenging conditions. Some of the retailers we've spoken to in this report have said that they've been having to work a lot harder for the sales that they've got. And of course, we've had the cost of living crisis in recent years as well, following that high rise in 2020 of everyone going online during the pandemic. So that high growth 2019 into 2020 hasn't continued into subsequent years. The market has dipped, mix of positive and negative growth depending on product category. And also within individual retailers have reported different results. So looking sort of even a bit closer into some of those areas, half of all fashion sold online in the region is sold, half of fashion sold in the region is sold online, followed closely by consumer electronics. So they've always been popular categories for consumers to buy online. The internet, carry on, Prem. I was going to say that the internet has an impact on sales on furniture and beauty.
Yeah. So regarding beauty and personal care, this is a trend all across the continent. I think it is one of the products that actually that constantly is growing for the moment. I mean, we're looking at the different what are the business where you should be investing, and they realize that beauty and personal care is something that actually is keeping the way going, the way forward, and the sales are increasing. So if it's something to invest on, a lot of new brands are selling their products and focusing on beauty and personal care, developing also some areas on that. And we've seen that in many retailers as well, where you see like kind of cosmetic products, perfumes, etc. Even like fashion brands launching their own product now. Everybody can do it anyway. So if they can do it, then they should be doing it, because it's a product that sells and keeps selling. Electronic that is going down, it's or steadily, but no, I'm not surprised about that either, because obviously the technology evolves quite rapidly. But I think now we are more like like you said, for example, phone. You would buy your own phone now rather than renting it. So probably you're going to keep it longer. The quality are probably better as well. But yeah, it's not a surprise that this went down. All businesses cross border following COVID, the COVID period, where people have been over consuming in a way, because they had probably working from home, and they needed to kind of evade from their life, and they probably purchase more things, more goods. A bit of overconsumption over there, which is good for business, but
yeah, but sort of looking at the figures as well, the actual size of markets, and this is something we're seeing sort of generally across the board with RetailX, is that the actual amount that people are buying online is still higher than they were buying online in 2019.
yeah.
So even though people have returned to buying in bricks and mortar stores and other channels, online is actually above where it was those few years ago.
But as you mentioned, the recession has hit everyone. So, everybody's trying to be careful as well now on what you're spending and what you be doing, and it's become harder as well. But I think it's also the fact that this maybe, and I think you're probably going to confirm that there's more and more suppliers selling their goods now. So there's a lot of choice. So perhaps some of the brand that were selling super well at a certain point maybe now selling a bit less because the competition is fierce, and we see every day the same products in multiple cross border company, selling something very similar, or the same item will be sold at different prices, and I think we're going to cover that part later on. But you were saying like the Belgian, for example, would buy easily in France, or they would buy in the Netherlands. And you have a lot of expats in Luxembourg who are purchasing their goods. So it also depends on the language and where they can buy their things. So yeah, it's interesting to see that at least from 22, we can see from 22 23 it gets steady, kind of.
Yeah. And retailers say, you mentioned the cost of living and everything, is that retailers are finding that even though in some cases revenue has gone up, the actual amount that consumers are buying has gone down. So because the prices have gone up, so when you look at figures, you do have to sort of analyse both sides of that equation.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
No, carry on.
No, it's true, but we are also consumers, so we can understand the behavior. Our behavior is not different from any other behavior, on the populations. So we have to look at what we have. We have to make sure that we have to pay the bills, and it's generally speaking, the price have gone up. So now you're going to probably focus on buying something that you may want to use a bit longer, and hence I'm not surprised to see the beauty and personal care going slightly up, because those products will probably be used quite faster than any other products. So probably that's why those products would keep going, and fashion as well, in a way.
Yeah, and with beauty and cosmetics and healthcare, there's sort of been this whole thing around health and wellness. So that market did increase, but the beauty side or the cosmetic side of things decreased during the pandemic, because people weren't going out so much.
Yeah.
And now sort of everyone's returned to sort of traditional ways of socializing and everything, then their sales have picked up, particularly sort of amongst luxury end of things. But if we sort of come on and move, it was saying about consumers and how much they are spending. We've also looked at the economic conditions within the countries, and each year we survey thousands of people across multiple countries around the world. So 9,165 respondents who shopped online at least once a year in 20 countries. So out of the people in Belgium, Netherlands and Benelux, Belgium and Netherlands, they are all saying that they're expecting to spend more money over the next year, or a higher percentage of them are going to spend more money over the next year rather than reducing it. So inflation is having an impact on that. Interest rates, of course, as well, coming down, and countries are generally expecting a higher level of growth through 24 into 25, and then 25 into 26, things returning to better conditions all round.
Yeah.
So one of the things mentioned a couple of times here has been cross-border sales, especially consumers in Luxembourg. I know this is one of the areas that you were keen to talk about. Luxembourg, it's about 50% of the population were born in other countries, mainly from the EU. So they're used to buying from the best or the leading e-commerce sites around Europe and from elsewhere. They've got the ease of being able to buy from other countries. What are you seeing about the challenges, though, about selling into other countries within the EU, as well as for those companies that are outside? Because we've got like Chinese companies wanting to sell into Europe and European countries wanting to sell to China.
So it's a good question. Thank you very much for asking. So we obviously, Valara provides services, externalized services for indirect taxation. So it helps a lot of businesses when they want to start launching the products and enlarging the scope of the territories where they're selling their goods. Usually, there's a lot of facilities put in place following the COVID period, but what is important for them is also looking at the cost, because the cost has gone higher. So they need to really kind of be careful with this. And the thing is, selling everywhere requires a lot of, to start with, you need to have a lot of stock, because you need to put all your stocks to make it sure it can deliver very quickly, because this is where the behavior of the consumer is also, alternatively to what the seller, the cross-border company wants to sell. A buyer wants to have his good very quickly. So he will be starting looking around who can deliver the goods a bit faster than the other one. So the consumer is not going to be necessarily, faithful to a specific supplier. He will just shop around and look wherever it goes. And then looking at the fact that, for example, you have a certain category who says they will decrease their online purchase, and the mid-range where they say they will continue to purchase at the same level, so no increase necessarily. I think it's because probably we see a constant, quite in the UK as well and some other region, the fact that now people can go out and also try to enjoy the old experience of going in a shop and trying out and kind of mixing both. What I was reading also is people would buy things and they want to find also the option where they can bring back their purchase if they in a shop somewhere where it saves on cost for transportation and pickup, because we've seen a lot of increasing costs on transport. So now, before COVID, you would buy multiple items, and because people could not go out of the house, the return was included in the tariffs most of the time on the. So we see a lot of businesses having to take into account all these factors. So although there are a lot of businesses trying to keep selling and enlarging the scope of countries, they've got to be careful, because obviously they don't want to lose one on what they already gained in some territories. So we see businesses who have a better structure launching their products, but knowing as well that Europe has put in place in 21 different schemes, such as the IOSS for non-EU business who wants to sell their goods, for example, and they want to make sure that if it's a low value item, that the scheme allows them to not pay any import VAT and duties and just collect the VAT of where the buyer is based. So those schemes have been amazingly successful for the European Union. They've seen an increased rate of businesses registering for those schemes. That means VAT has been collected and paid. So this is good for the European Union, because they can see the measure of win and loss on the VAT paid, the gap, and other schemes such as the OSS, for example, which simplify for a retailer to have his stock in one place, like for example Netherlands, Germany or Belgium, and then they will dispatch their goods. So from one point, they can actually achieve a better higher rate. And then also working with marketplaces. Then if they have a structure and a mean, and they have the possibility to have more stocks and put those stocks into various warehouses across the EU, then at that point it gives them the chance to actually increase their sales. So we've seen a tendency. COVID was a booming year. This time, because a lot of business had no option but to register and to start selling, because people could not go out. So retailers, shops who had enough money to be able to develop their online portal and develop the sales on the online, they've been successful on this idea.
That was interesting. You mentioned the marketplaces there, because obviously Netherlands' favourite marketplace is Bol. So and they pick up sort of quite a lot of business from Belgium. And in recent years, Amazon, which was just in the Netherlands and France and Germany, has launched in Belgium as well. So that's one market that sort of the two major marketplaces in the region are targeting. You mentioned about marketplaces making it easier for other brands and retailers to expand through their marketplace structures. So they've got the logistics infrastructures in place, the warehousing, fulfillment, customer service, customer experience all sorted, so that they make it easy for some companies to expand into new markets. So do you think that there's sort of that growth potential, that once you have leading players, that other people can sort of piggyback off their business to get to where the consumers are?
Yes, I think everyone has to win something. So marketplace want to have new clients who are going to sell their goods into their portal, online portal. So they will want all this, from small business to medium businesses, to try to join them. The big businesses have developed, not only keep working with the marketplace, but they also develop very strongly their online portal. So they have multiple channels. So it will be interesting to see in the long run if other marketplaces are growing even faster than Amazon or some places, because obviously the consumers' behavior is also on understanding where are we putting our money as well for these companies. Are these companies based in our country? Are we going to support more the local businesses who are still selling, and then or carry on working just buying on Amazon? So the choice is becoming bigger and bigger. I mean, you mentioned marketplace, but Zalando is one of also a big one who has grown quite steady fast in the EU and developing across multiple countries now. It used to be only made mainly Germany, and then they were dispatching from Germany. Then they start having many hubs now. They developed a lot of different hub for delivery, which makes things faster in a way. People just want their things faster, but they also think about where are these items available, and multiple channels. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but when you were Googling some items, you would have most of the time the same supplier coming in on screen. This has changed now. You start having many different more appearing on Google, and this is impacting obviously you can see the behavior of the buyer. To go to page number 2 to find some others is sometimes a bit you're lazy. You stay on page 1, and you can see on page 1 used to be Amazon always on the first position, and I feel like we start seeing many other providers now on the go.
Yeah, and a lot of retail would have been traditional retailers online have understood about opening up their own marketplaces as well. So extending their reach, extending the product range that they can offer without having to actually have those products in store in their bricks and mortar shops.
Yeah.
So there's sort of that endless aisle as well. One of the other things that internet retailing does is we analyze the leading retailers in the market. This isn't just based on revenue and web traffic. We look at lots of performance measurements as well around capital, experience, logistics, the services. From this chart, interesting one, if just to quickly explain it, is that the top part of it is showing the makeup of, in this case, the Benelux top 100. So the leading 100 brands, marketplaces and retailers that operate in that market. And below that is the web traffic. So from there, we were talking marketplaces attract a large percentage of consumer web traffic. So marketplaces, they get 54% of the web traffic, and this is despite only 35 of the top 100 companies being marketplace businesses. So you can see that they're over-indexing in the amount of traffic that they receive from consumers in the Benelux. Also, 26% of the RetailX Benelux top 100 are based in the region, but together they only attract 17% of the consumer web traffic. So with marketplaces taking such a large share of the market, and retailers in the region are having to work really hard to actually attract consumers to their website, but also then you have the work that has to be done to convert those customers or convert those consumers into paying customers.
Mm-hmm.
So have you got any thoughts on this, Prem? I know it's sort of quite a complicated chart to sort of throw at you at this stage.
Yeah. Well, I think the golden age of being a marketplace or starting and trying to target all your clients I think there's still a learning process for the moment for them to kind of analyze consumers' behavior. And I believe that in looking at those numbers, they're still growing in any case, even for them. But they will probably change within the next year, the way they're selling their items. What are they selling? Probably the cost is different. There's one thing as well that probably, when you purchase goods, the politic of returns is also different from different territories. So some territories will have a very low turnaround. So you'll have to return your item within 1 week or 15 days, where some big brands, big marketplace will tell you, you got indefinite time. You can send it back to us. It's going to stay in our. So maybe this is probably kind of the reason why there's a bit more strictness into the local provider, local seller, local marketplaces, and but this will probably change little by little. They will, as long as they found a good ground and the right behavior of the consumer, and where there's not too much loss as well in terms of the product, because fashion moves so fast, or products can evolve quite fast, and in 3 months' time there's something new coming in on the market, so you feel like it's already old.
And the associations in the individual countries are working a lot and trying to build up, or trying to help local businesses moving online for the first time. But there's also a lot of loyalty, as I mentioned, between the Netherlands and Bol, that people in the country would rather be shopping from them rather than from Amazon to a certain extent. We mentioned the top 100 in that previous slide. Here we've got the list. I'm not going to go through them all, but we can see that there is a mixture of companies that are based in the region. There are global brands. There are the marketplaces. There are Chinese companies. There are American ones. It is really a complete mix. But the elite are sort of Netherlands leading grocer, Albert Heijn, Amazon, obviously. As mentioned, it's got localized sites in the Netherlands and Belgium, whereas France and German sites also attract consumers from Belgium and from Luxembourg.
Mm-hmm.
Sports good retailer Decathlon also has a marketplace. Sweden's global fashion brand H&M, and Netherlands clothing and household brand Hemmer. So they all have something in common, though, when I sort of look at those 5 companies, is the level of innovation, great customer experience online and in store for those that operate bricks and mortar stores. So you've been mentioning returns. So that's something that they all have slick operations for that. They have good logistics services, and they concentrate on that overall 360 omnichannel customer experience, regardless of which channel the customer has first come to them with, which channel they're buying from, and that goes right the way through their marketing as well.
Yeah, exactly. And you see, for example, some brand like some marketplace such as Decathlon, who has made tremendous changes on their sales and developing the way they're selling their item. So you can actually buy some items at Decathlon, and you can keep it for you have 360 days to exchange your item. I mean, they are working also very heavily on recycling some items, so you can bring back some items if you don't want to use them. This will play will have a big impact on the behavior of a consumer. Knowing that you have this length of time, that you know they're developing, they have stores, even if they're small stores. And you see IKEA, who's developing a lot more little stores as well, all around. Sometimes it's not a massive IKEA. You can go there and then buy your item and then deliver to your house, or you can come collect perhaps. But on the main leading one, well, they are mainly European, right? If you think about it. It's Albert Heijn, Decathlon French, H&M Swedish, and then Hema, which is I think Dutch, I think, if I'm not wrong. So you've got some leading European brand marketplaces or retailers. So that means the consumer is also behaving in terms of where they can buy their items, and in conjunction they probably meet each other, right? In that way. You kind of find the right balance. You're trying to buy ethically perhaps a bit more, and this is the behavior you can see. Even on the leading, you can see that those products are usually good quality products as well. It's not cheap products, so you can see that people are probably investing heavily into quality items rather than products that are going to be out of date within a certain time.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sort of one of the companies that comes up in there, Shein, the Chinese fashion marketplace, and that's one of the companies. Them and Temu are both companies that retailers in Europe have been worrying about, because they're coming in, grabbing market share without a lot of the regulations that we have within Europe. Mm-hmm. So that's something that people are sort of hoping is going to start to change. But also, if you look at those Chinese marketplaces, I think they can also teach a lot to European companies on how to operate as well, sort of how to move into a market, how to capture market share. Because in some countries, they're sort of within the top 5 mm-hmm. attracting consumer traffic.
Yeah, I mean, it's like even for Avalara, we have competitors. There are plenty of other providers on the place. It's also about knowing when what they've learned and how was the velocity of changing your behavior, and making sure that you can respond to the consumer and what they are requiring and what they want, and understanding and adapting yourself to their needs. So again, as you mentioned, Temu, for example, is probably in the side mirror of the European Union for the moment, because there's a lot of products who are, as you mentioned, are not necessarily validated or up to the regulation, and so they it's about the behavior and the quality of the product. So, and I think the consumer also realized very quickly how much it's going to cost them if you have to buy 3-4 times the same items. So I think a couple of years ago, we've seen quite a lot of brand selling very, very cheap items. And suddenly, after like 3 or 4 years, the behavior changes, because you realize there's actually so much waste, and how much you have spent, you better buy something that's going to last a bit longer.
Yeah, and that's something that's coming through with sustainability, because sort of there's a large percentage of consumers that say they will buy something that's been produced and transported in an ethical and environmentally friendly way, rather than buying an alternative. And I've got a statistic, I think it's something like 49% 49% of consumers, there you go, in the region will pay a premium for such products. So there's that whole journey that retailers are going on at the moment with switching to more sustainable ways of working, bringing in circular design processes into product development. And then you've mentioned about Decathlon and the recycling. They also do product rental, so you don't necessarily have to go out and buy a paddleboard for the summer. You can just go and rent it from them and bring it back at the end of your week's holiday or the end of the kids' summer holiday.
Exactly. The sustainability it's everywhere for the moment. Obviously, we talk about that almost every day on the news. We know the climate warming up. So it's a logical path. And also, the children now are learning even younger now about what to do. My 7-year-old son, when we do the shopping, would refuse to buy any items which are packed in plastic, for example. He would say, "This is bad. Just buy the loose item, and then we'll put in the basket and in our bag." So it starts already now, and I believe they're probably going to be the next generation consumer, which will be having an impact on the way we are purchasing items, and we'll see that more and more. I mean, this is a positive side, and I don't think it changes a lot for the retailer to adapt too much. It's just a bit of work just to understand what do we do for this, and they have everything to gain out of it, everything to gain on that side.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you look at sort of the work that those leading retailers are doing on the sustainability journeys as well, with H&M sort of having to completely change supply chains, changing over to different materials. Amazon is one of the largest investors in environmental issues, and with their investment, with their funding, buying or investing in electronic vehicle fleet. I think they've actually bought an actual company developing electronic or electric powered delivery vans.
Yeah. And another point is, you mentioned here, I can see the subscription. So that means I think there was too much choice kills the choice, right? It's like too much communication kills the communication. And that's why I'm not surprised to see that 40% of consumers think subscription services are important. If you can find a common ground where you know the item that you could generally buy, and you can get it on the long run at the same price, or with the consistency that you expect, with a service that you expect, then why not? Yeah, HelloFresh as well, for example. They've got something that they've developed very, very well with again. People, you can stay at home and you get your delivery done as well. So it's all about finding the right balance. What can we go buy and what can we get home, and at which price, which cost, and which cost. When I say cost, not only in pricing but cost for environment as well. And when you have a delivery and you see this lorry coming in, and then they're powered by electricity, you feel a bit more relieved, feeling that he's on double line to do the delivery. The engine is not running, so you already feel a bit more kind of at least it's not polluting my street, for example. So imagine that when this is all the cars like this, all the van, this is in the long run, this has an impact, whether it's conscious or unconscious.
Yeah. So sustainability is mentioned, that's sort of one of the drivers of why people are buying things from certain retailers. But overall, though, it's convenience, the convenience of online, getting it delivered to your home or delivered to where is convenient to you to collect it on your way back from work or whatever you're doing during the day, the option of prices, the reviews. And so retailers are giving customers what they want and having to make sure that the messaging that they put out there matches that consumer need. So if we look at how individual consumers behave, Netherlands, Belgium have the highest percentage than average consumers spending more than euros per month online, makes them very attractive group for online retailers. 39% of online sales made using a smartphone, because obviously it's the thing that we all carry around with us. Click, nice, easy, just bought that. So getting the experience, services and messaging right at the best time, the right channel for the customer, is something that all those leading retailers are doing and having to continually innovate with, because you do have the disruptors coming in, we do have consumer behaviour changing, and there are competitors within that same product category, and consumers can easily buy just from somebody else, just one click away. So finally then, Benelux, 3 exciting e-commerce markets, maturity, growth, cross-border, excellent customer experiences. Is there anything else you want to add? Any advice you'd give to anyone looking to expand into the region?
Yes, there are some scheme available, as I explained, with the IOSS, the OSS scheme. Avalara can support the client with all the indirect taxation regarding VAT, etc. But we also have a strong network of partners. So whether a business wants to also find some information regarding how can I have a third-party logistics, where can I have my warehouse, or sometimes if they need advisory, we work with partners around the EU and globally. So we always tell to a client, look, if you're unsure, if you need to talk to someone, if you need to, we can provide you some reference, and you can discuss with these people, and then these firms, and then find out what is suitable for you. So I think those for small businesses, I think the IOSS is an excellent scheme, because it helps them really to kind of test the water and find out what are my products, what can I sell. Are there people going to sell a bit more, or how am I going to do this? So it helps. Very often we see businesses who have grown with us, for example, with one solution, and then coming back and saying, hey, you know what, now I've started with IOSS, but my sales are growing, I can see the basket is increasing, and then I need to find a solution because it's not viable to do what I'm doing for the moment. So, and then they start moving towards a scheme where they can have a stock somewhere, and then also their business evolve, whatever they produce will be on the long run as well, not only short term. It could be in the long run, and producing items or selling items which will last the time as well. So, and there are schemes for that to help them sell those goods, and they can, with the EU, you can also have some different type of market depending on the culture. So if you sell, let's say, woolen jumper or any products that are more suitable for the northern side of the EU, well, they'll be focusing more on the Scandinavian side, the north of Europe, and then for the south of Europe, they'll be focusing on products which are a bit more lighter, for example. So there is a trend and an understanding. What is important is I think for those business, I think they learn from each other. So they would look at what are they selling. What can I see is coming very often? What are the main items, the popular items? Very often you'll see on websites popular sales. This has been sold multiple times. We don't know if it's true or not, but we see that often. We say this item has sold multiple times or very popular. So you can see that you can learn, and those cross-border business can learn from each other and understanding what are their markets, where they should be investing, and where it is easy. Again, another point for the Netherlands, which is also a stronghold for a lot of businesses, a non-EU business, when they want to start their selling on the European market. A lot of them would set up their warehouse in the Netherlands because they speak English as well. They're very heavily focused on international trade. They have been prepared for years and years and years now. They know how to handle the demand, and they've put all the logistics in place, infrastructure in place in those territories. It goes along with the fact they also have a very nice discipline, and they also have a good understanding of the sustainability very quickly as well.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Prem. It's been very interesting chatting with you and putting some real world experiences onto the statistics and everything that we put within the reports. As mentioned, we've just hit on some of the highlights, some of the trends within the reports. For anybody who hasn't seen it yet, there's a link here to be able to go and download it. Come along to the internetretailing.net website and you'll find it there. If you've got any questions for Prem or for me, or about anything that we do at Internet Retailing, want to get involved in future reports or some of our research, then please do get in touch via research@retailx.net. So finally, Prem, thank you for joining me and look forward to chatting again.